What's up, guys? It's Dynasty from the Mountaintops. Back finally after a 2-week hiatus from the draft. Obviously, me and Jeremy are here. So, Jeremy, how you doing today?
Doing all right, man. Doing more than all right. We are post the draft. We can now sift through all the information with who landed where and begin to all guess who's the best incorrectly.
I like that. So, speaking of best, we're going to talk about our top 30 rankings. That's a great segue. Well done, sir. Let me into that one. So, our ranks and tiers. All right. So, I'll kind of talk more about the tiers, being that I've done this part before. Jeremy hasn't really done the tiers. He really focuses on rankings. So he's going to talk about where his rankings are, and where we differ is really what we're going to talk about, why and what we might be missing that the other person sees, if that makes sense. So we're going to set this up real quick and easy. We have a consensus on the first two. However, my first tier is one person only, and that is Ashton Genty. And if you didn't know that before I said his name, then you haven't listened to our podcast enough. So real quick, Ashton Genty, number one. We have to talk about him just a second. Give me something here, Akron.
No, man. This is something like I don't want to say I was downplaying Genty, but I wasn't fully on. I didn't buy a ticket to the bandwagon right when you guys were fully on full steam ahead here on this. But I mean, I was able to grab a ticket in the last minute before the wagon got full. This dude's a beast. I'm happy in one of my leagues that I actually am able to have a share in paying him, because I think he's going to be an expensive asset probably for the next year and a half, 2 years. And then if he hits, like, good luck. So, yeah, dude's a beast. He belongs in his own tier. He's a standalone running back. He's a standalone player in this draft. There's a reason why he is number one over a guy who is a dual position. That tells you something.
No, absolutely. And I don't even think it's really talking rookie anymore about him. It's where does he rank in the top running backs at this point, especially with where he went, Las Vegas, which was a beautiful fit for him. No fighting for playing time whatsoever. So, yeah, it'll be really nice because Raheem Mostert's on his last leg on the way out. So, and I think that might be the only option they have other than him. So we'll see. Second tier, I have 2 through 5 on my board. Travis Hunter, Omarion Hampton, Trevion Henderson, Teteroa McMillan, all in the same kind of category there. I used to say that this was a 10 or 9 person category, and I kind of divvied that up a little bit, not much, but it's like 2 and then 2A, or 2.5 or whatever. So the big difference that we had, though, in this tier was you had Trevion Henderson 3 spots lower than I did. I had him at number 4. You had him at number 7. So what's the reason that you just had him a little bit lower?
Yeah, I just had him a little bit lower. I don't think there's necessarily a reason handicapping him. It's just I like the other players ahead of him a little bit higher. I didn't go in a tier format, so I'm just going by, in my opinion, and from what I'm seeing here, he's the 7th best rookie in this class. I excuse me, I like his landing spot, but I don't love it. I mean, Rondé Stevenson is still a thing. These rookie running backs come into play, and everyone's willing to give him the RB1 status regardless of talent. They are still rookie running backs coming into a system that is not patterned for them. They are coming into a system that is established that they will come into play in. Rondé Stevenson is still getting hundreds of touches a year. He's still obtaining the yards, and he's still under contract. So I don't see Henderson coming in here and having the volume that the fantasy world's looking to have. Now, I do believe he's a fantastic talent. I think he's a great blocking back, which is going to get him some time on the field, but that's going to get him time on the field and play actions and RPOs and such. So it's not necessarily a knock on Henderson's talent and skill, but I just like the other landing spots better.
No, and it makes sense. Everything you said is valid. I am very negative when it comes to Rondé Stevenson because I have trusted him in fantasy multiple years, and he sucks. So I was super excited because I am a huge Drake May fan. that he now actually has a weapon that is not over 30. Really nice to see. So with the lack of weapons, that's why I have him so high. I almost had him above Omari and Hampton, and which is why they are 3 and 4. They're in their own mini tier in the tier because they're so close to, in my opinion, especially in fantasy, which is what we're talking about. He might not get as many touches as you would like. However, his touches are going to be impactful, kind of like last year, not last year, but 2 years ago, rookie Gibbs is kind of where I'm leaning towards because he's fast, he blocks well, he's going to play third downs because Ramondre Stevenson, although he can catch a little bit, is not that good, not very efficient, and I think Henderson's going to get those big time touches. So
That's a very good analogy. I like that analogy of the Gibbs situation because you do have the Ramondre Stevenson. It's kind of like your David Montgomery type style back. And then
by the
Gibbs came
way,
in there, and everybody was concerned,
yeah,
of Monty's type value, and it ended up balancing each other out. But obviously, I think if you ask 8 out of 10 people, they're going to want Gibbs over Montgomery.
right, absolutely, and that's kind of how I feel about this situation. By the way, this is like a poor man's Detroit backfield, not anywhere near what I think the Detroit backfield is because Warning better than
comparing apples and
Ramondre,
oranges.
and Gibbs is better than Anderson.
Yeah.
But they're both very. But that's kind of where I lean. Moving on.
We're comparing apples and oranges, but we're still comparing fruit.
There you go. I like that. That'll work.
It's basically how we're approaching this. So yeah,
that'll work. All right. So moving on. Tier 3, we have Cam Ward, Quinshawn Judkins, Jackson Dart, Tyler Warren, and Colston Loveland. So we had 3 in this group that were quite a few off. So we'll definitely talk about the quarterback. Cam Ward, Tennessee, number 1 overall draft pick, and you have him in a quarterback, or not a 2 quarterback, but a super flex league, is what I based this off of. I'm hoping you did as well.
Close enough.
Okay. So you have him at number 11. I have him at number 6 overall in my third tier. So tell me about it. What are you worried about with Cam Ward?
I'm worried about Cam Ward in regards to his landing spot in the overall developmental program that he's going to have. He's going into a system where there's a lot of green individuals in the front office, from the GM to the head coach. There's a lot of individual. I am a massive Joe Burrow fan, and there's a lot of people thinking that this guy's the next Joe Burrow because of the head coach was the offensive coordinator for Joe Burrow. That isn't necessarily the case, and Burrow did have a lot of other coaching acclimates that came into play, and he didn't call the plays for Joe. So there's a lot of greenery there. Furthermore, I think if I'm going to utilize Cam Ward in a ranking system, I'm going to compare him to the other quarterbacks. And I just feel that if I'm going to compare him to the other quarterbacks, I feel that I'm taking Jackson Dart over the Cam Wards. I think Dart's been given a better situation. I think Jackson Dart's been given a better layout and better weapons and everything in between. I'm not necessarily knocking the skill talent of Cam Ward. I'm concerned of where he's going to go, what developmental pieces he has. A lot of these young quarterbacks wait years. And there's some quarterbacks that go decades where they don't have a definitive dominant wide receiver 1 to assist them in their careers. Jackson Dart's walking into one with Malik Neighbors. Calvin Ridley is the best thing going in Tennessee, and we don't know what Calvin Ridley is going to be like this year, let alone next year and the year after, due to the age and everything in between. The Tennessee Titans are the land where the wide receivers go to die is the terminology that is used, and so far they're reflecting it. They have signed Tyler Lockett and haven't really done much else to support the Trivion, the Burks that never really worked out for them. So I just think, and they're going to lose a lot of touchdowns this year with Westbrook Akine leaving. So I just think it's a better situation for Dart, and I'm afraid Ward's going to have a few years of developmental slowness to support what team he's gone to.
I love that you pulled out the Westbrook Akine, so they're not going to have as many touchdowns. That's funny. So honestly, everything that you say is absolutely correct. Here's the only reason that I put him first off in front of Dart, and second off as high as I do. It's super flex. So I didn't really like him as a prospect, to be honest. I like Jackson Dart. It was my number one quarterback coming out. However, he is probably going to sit. There is no chance Cam Ward sits because there is nothing and then nothing behind him. So I agree with you on the skill set with of the players, which we'll talk about later on in my bottom of the 30 here on someone that I'm looking really forward to seeing because there's no talent in Tennessee, in my opinion, outside of the two running backs who both can catch out of the backfield. So maybe they're going to do a lot of that. But yeah, I have no disagreement with you. Literally, the reason he's this high, it's super flex.
I might have forgot about that little tidbit about the super flex. So hey,
that's how I based it off of because that's what we play. So also Quinshon Judkins, I had 4 spots lower than you. You had him number 3 overall in front of Lamarian Hampton, which I'm really surprised by. Tell me about that.
Okay, so this is where I tend to hold off on some rankings and such before the draft because I think the landing spot is more important than what some other individuals think it is. I think everyone is forgetting that the Chargers have signed Najee Harris to a decent contract, and it went under the radar that J.K. Dobbins signed some unrestricted free agent tender on there. So if Dobbins is not signed in the offseason by the beginning of the year, he gets some type of franchise tag money off the Chargers. And the Chargers are not going to bring in Najee Harris to sit on the bench. So for the sole purpose of landing spot and opportunity, I have Judkins over Hampton. So again, I'm in this position here. I don't want to necessarily explain why Hampton is lower. I want to explain more why Judkins is higher, because again, it's not necessarily a knock on Hampton. It's just more so the opportunity. I think Judkins is the cliche, what everyone's saying. I think he's Nick Chubb 2.0. He's going into that system where he's going to be a Nick Chubb type style. He's going to get the volume of his Nick Chubb type style. There's no Najee Harris ahead of him. There's no J.K. Dobbins threatening tags ahead of him. I believe it's his backfield. I'm not as high on Sampson as other individuals are, and we can kind of discuss that if we wish. But I just think Judkins is coming in there as a proven volume back, 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons with 15-plus touchdowns each year. He has top 36 draft capital. He's an absolute brick house. And he's coming in and he's that type of workhorse running back where he's going to have the 3-down type back, powerhouse, push forward, David Montgomery, Nick Chubb type style. That's a style that I enjoy, but I also feel that that's going to be a position that he is going to excel in and get immediate touches off the bat.
No, everything you said, very valid. I think the difference between me and you is I had some of the other players just I thought a little bit more of in better spots personally. I'm worried about the offensive line in Cleveland. Who knows who the backup quarterback's going to be to start for the Cleveland Browns because there's no starter there. They got 5 backups. I think that's hilarious. Anyway,
I like the 5 backup. That's pretty spot on.
That's crazy to me. And then the guy that you picked in the 5th round is going to start. That's funny. Anyway,
you're just only supporting my volume aspect. If they don't got a quarterback that's going to be any type of legitimacy, you're going to get the volume. Now, of course, you're going to have, like you said, you have your line tendencies, and you have teams that are going to scheme toward that by blocking or stacking the box and such. But if you're going by volume and opportunity, Judkins is going to run away with it.
Yeah, no
pun intended.
I am worried if they get behind, which with that defense, it might be difficult. Their defense is very good. But with no offense, Jerry Jeudy had a half a good season, so now everyone thinks he's amazing. I am a Jeudy fan, but I've seen it 3 years in Denver where he was terrible. And Jameis Winston does things that no one else can do when it comes to a number 1 wide receiver. So let's see how the passing game is. And if they do run a lot, then Quinshawn's going to be a beast. Don't get me wrong, but I think they're going to have Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford spell him as well. It could be a three-headed backfield, which is why I'm a little bit more worried about him than I am about everybody else's playing time. But like I said, I loved Judkins. I didn't think he was going to run like he did in the combine. So and it's also Pittsburgh bias. I'm not going to lie, I hate Cleveland, so that doesn't help either.
It reeks of this, and that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh no, you can hear it all through my rant. So absolutely. Next up, we have Colston Loveland. He rounds out my third tier, and you have him 4 spots lower. Actually, if you're playing a 12-team, you have him in the second round. Colston Loveland. So let's hear this one because
it's nothing. Okay, so it's hold on. Don't put me on the spot like that. I guess my point in the situation is this. I think Loveland is again subject to the situation of Hampton and Judkins. I think Mason Taylor, to me, is the better tight end of the two. You have you have Colson Loveland, who's played fantastically well, but you got to consider the injury history behind Colson Loveland. That concerns me. He's coming into the 2 consecutive years of injuries. You have Taylor, who looks the part of like an NFL tight end. Like he's 6'5", 251. He's not gonna like wow play you like a Trey McBride or like the Tyler Warrens are rumored to be doing, but he's going to be consistent. He holds down the run game well. He physically looks the part. He psychologically knows the game. With the pedigree in his history, with his uncle and his dad. His dad's Jason Taylor. Like I just think it all lines up for him to have a more successful career. I like his landing spot. I think it's a very sneaky landing spot. I think he could definitely be wide receiver 2 in that offense. Justin Fields loves his tight ends. We've seen that in a very small stint here in Pittsburgh. We saw it with Cole Kmet. I mean, he loves his tight ends, and we're going to have a very successful catching tight end in the Jets offense that is abysmal behind Garrett Wilson.
Great point. So for me, Colston Loveland, Kmet doesn't scare me whatsoever. He is done, basically, in my opinion.
No, I agree. My apologies. So it's not disturbed. I was referring to Justin Fields' usage with Kmet. Yeah. I agree. I think Kmet's best days are behind him. They would have not have drafted Loveland if they felt the same. If they didn't feel the same.
Right. Absolutely agree there. I was actually surprised how high I put him, to be 100% honest. I just ran out of people to put ahead of him because I don't love the landing spot due to 3 wide receivers, which one of them is a rookie who we'll get to shortly. Then you also have DJ Moore and, oh my gosh, Rome Odunze. With Kmet still there and Swift, who has no... don't understand why they didn't pick up a running back, but regardless.
He can't catch out of the backfield, which is
what you're trying to make. They have how many pass-catching weapons? So I was a little bit worried about that, but I think Kmet is going to be gone soon. I think DJ Moore is going to be gone soon. And I think it's going to kind of open up with these 3 young guys. That's what I believe is why they drafted him. So if that's the case, with his talent that he showed in Michigan, man, he could be in that top 4 tight end cheat code, quote unquote, as we call it. That's why I love Loveland, because I believe that's where the team's going. And also, I saw what Sam Laporta did his rookie year, and well, guess who the head coach is for the Chicago Bears?
Speaking of, how fun would it have been if Loveland went to the Chargers under Harbaugh? That would have been fun, but
oh my, yeah, that would have been game changer.
But nevertheless,
yeah, absolutely. So moving on, we have tier 4, Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, and Emeka Egbuka. So before we start, I know you're already upset with me about Ibuka, so we'll talk about him first. I love Emeka Ibuka as a player. And then Tampa Bay freaking Buccaneers, who already have three weapons on wide receiver, two really, really good ones, decided to draft him. So in the future, yes, might be a really, really nice piece. However, they just re-signed Godwin. They have the freak in Mike Evans. And I just don't see how he cracks that top two. And if you're a wide receiver three, I can wait to draft. So I'd love to hear. I know you love Ibuka. I thought it was going to lower you on him because of the draft spot. People are loving this spot.
I'm not gonna lie. This was the only player that I kind of turned an eye on the landing spot. I absolutely despised the landing spot. I was so sick. Like, you and I even texted each other the night of the draft when he landed in Tampa Bay for every reason that you've mentioned. None of that's ignored. But I went with the sheer talent. I think he is the second best. I think he's going to be the second best wide receiver out of this class. I think for fantasy purposes. Now, again, this is the kind of hat I wanted to wear here. I think that he is going to be the nastiest PPR machine out of this class that these eyes have seen. And I think in any type of format, that when you handle on that type of aspect and that type of volume, I think he's going to be fine. Now, again, I agree with you. The landing spot is not the best, but everyone is considering Godwin to be Godwin. Godwin is coming back off of his second consecutive lower ligament injury. He is not going to have the same speed. He's not going to have the same cut. It was diminished a little bit after the first injury, and now he's had the second one on the ankle. And it was a significant injury. It wasn't an ankle sprain. Like, he had to have surgery on this thing. So before I see Godwin come back and be Godwin, I'm going to trust the system and trust Cohen and how this was all trust the system and how this was done, and how they're going to bring him in under that same exact umbrella is all I'm going at. I'm going with the talent, and I'm going to put my chips on him over Godwin.
Yeah, I mean, we both agree. Like, going into the draft, I was stoked for Emeka Ibuka. The reason I dropped him in my personal rankings is literally the draft spot. Terrifies me. Now, again, they might be able to get out a contract or trade or something like that. He becomes relevant in the next 2 years. But I don't bank on the injury, but I understand the injury bug that Godwin has had basically his entire career. So I understand that 100%. The other person that we kind of had significant difference on, we actually had differences on all of these players. But Caleb Johnson for the Steelers. Again, this might be homer bias, but if you listen to the podcast prior to this, you know I'm not a huge fan of Caleb Johnson. However, I am not a fan whatsoever of Jalen Warren. So I think there's nobody around him that's going to be able to get the work that he's going to get in Pittsburgh. Pretty stoked about that. Also, I'm a little higher on the offensive line in Pittsburgh than I am a lot of other places. So, especially how young they are and how they kind of came together at the end of the year. So, I'd like to hear your thoughts. We can kind of tag team these two, I guess. RJ Harvey, same thing. Not a big fan pre-draft. After the draft, although I am an Estime fan, Audric Estime fan, and think he is going to play more than people expect, this guy might be the joker that Peyton's been looking for. And if that's the case, he deserves first-round capital. That's why I have those two a little bit higher. What's your take on those guys?
Yeah, honestly, you have Caleb and RJ Harvey kind of like a basically coin flip with Caleb a little bit higher up, with Caleb over RJ, and I'm just the opposite with RJ over Caleb. I'm running a little bit more weight into Sean Payton's choice being RJ Harvey. We were all waiting to find out who Payton was going to draft. Well, we all know now it's Harvey. So I think there's going to be a little bit more stock into that. I'm not necessarily a Warren fan. I do fully agree with you on everything that you said on Caleb Johnson. I think Caleb Johnson's going to take a little bit more time to take the backfield over than RJ. That is my coin flip, and the only purpose for my coin flip. I think RJ was drafted to take the first position. I think Warren's going to have this year. I think Warren's going to have it sometime. He's going to have some usage in the back. He was signed for that 1 year extension. I think Caleb Johnson's going to have the year to take it over. I fully agree. He does take it over by year's end, but I do think it's going to take a tad bit longer. Thus, the ranking there. But I think both are elite talents, and I like the position on both. I like the landing spot for both players.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised you had him at 16 and 17. To be honest, middle of the second round. So
I'm a little bit higher on the wide receiver class than the running backs. So I guess it is this year. I had more running back. I have more wide receivers a little bit higher. So I guess that's where we are different. My middle core is a little bit more top heavy wide receivers versus yours. I think that's where we differentiate.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I think that is a good point of what you said there. So moving on, we'll talk about the fifth tier for me, which I have Jack Besh, Cam Scatabo, Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins, and Jalen Milroe. So there are two guys that we want to talk about on this one. First off, Big Cam, the Bo, however you want to say it. You had him much lower. You had him at 23. I have him at 15 overall. Just not a fan. Don't like the landing spot.
Who are we referring to? Is Cam Scatabo?
Yeah, the Bo.
Yeah. It's not necessarily. I'm higher on Tracy than most. I think everyone's sleeping on Tracy. I don't know why everyone's rolling Tracy out. I don't know if it's just because of his lack of experience or his lack of splash. But the dude ran over almost 11,000 or 1,100 yards rushing last year. He's a hybrid player. He was a wide receiver in college. Came in and playing running back. You don't just replace those dudes. Scatabo was a 5th round draft pick. So was Tracy. So my draft capital individuals are quieted on air. It's the same. It's the same draft cap aspect. I don't think that Scatabo is a terrible player. I think he's going to be more of like your Pacheco type. So he's going to be getting the ball and running it head down and running. I just think that you are going in a piss poor offense that the Giants are. I think that Tracy is going to get a lot more touches than what the fantasy community wants to admit by. And I think it's going to cut in on Scadabo's cuttage.
So you said one thing in that I agree with a lot of what you said. But the one thing I agree with the most is that he used to be a wide receiver and is now a running back. So he can catch out of the backfield really well. Why not put them both on the field at the same time?
Full agreement.
You have nobody else on that team outside of Neighbors. Nobody. You can say all you want about Wandell Robinson or whoever else they have. Darius Slayton for the 18th tier. They have no weapon. So why wouldn't you? And Dayball, or is it Dayball?
Yeah.
And Dayball is a smart offensive coach. I think he drafted Scatabo to be the banger, the touchdown scorer down low. If they get into the red zone.
Ouch.
I don't like this team at all. Like him a little bit more because they picked up Cam, but that's my thought process. Is I think you're going to see Tracy and Cam on the field together quite a bit because they're two of their top 3 weapons. Why wouldn't you put them on the field together? And I know that's something that not many people have said. I don't know if anyone I've heard said it yet, but that's what I believe is going to happen.
It's very possible because we're seeing it. We're seeing it. The core was established in Detroit, where you have the Sonic and Knuckles, you have the Montgomery, you have the Gibbs, you have the guy who's going to run 90 mile an hour from the backfield, catching the ball, and you're going to have the wrecking ball. And every team's doing this. So I fully agree. You're going to have the Scattabos and the Tracy's back there. But that's what I'm saying. It's the committee type feed. Gibbs and Monty, Scatabo, and Tracy. Again, we're not comparing the two, but it's going to be that type of volume. And I don't think Tracy's going away. And because Tracy's not going away, that's why I have Scatabo a little bit lower. Again, it's not necessarily a knock on the player. It's more so the opportunity that he's going to be given out the gate.
Okay. No, and I can 100% understand that. I like Tracy as well. We've talked about that plenty of times. Moving on, we have Jalen Milroe, 11 spots difference. So I'm going to go first on this one because this is where the tier the actual like, oh god, who you pick. So I go with upside, and if Jalen Milroe hits, he's top 5 quarterback in the NFL fantasy wise because this dude can run for days. And that's what you look for in fantasy at this point, right? Also, have no faith in Sam Darnold. He had a good year last year. He also had the best wide receiver, arguably the best duo wide receivers, but definitely the best wide receiver in football, in my opinion. With the one of the best offensive minds in football, in KOC, and he hasn't been successful anywhere else, whether it's been a good coach or a bad coach. So we'll see what happens with Sam Darnold. I'm down on him, so I do think Jalen Milroe may start by the end of this year. And if he does, if he gets a chance, man, he's fantasy gold. I don't know for how long, but he's fantasy gold.
No, I fully support you. I think the reason why my rank is lower is because I have a little bit more faith in Darnold, and I don't know if it's necessarily the word faith I want to use. I think it's expected patience that's going to be given by the Seattle Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to utilize what they saw in Darnold last year, not what they saw in Darnold on the Jets, and they are going to capitalize on that as much as they can. I don't think Milroe is breathing down the necks. I don't think the fan base is rabid for Milroe until they truly see Darnold truly see the franchise give up on Darnold, and I don't see that happening this year. I think his leash is going to be a little bit longer than it ever was. Considering the contract he signed, be it a friendly one, but the contract that he did sign and the opportunity that they're expecting from him, and them shipping out Geno Smith in lieu of this whole process for him, I just think his leash is going to be a lot longer.
Understand that completely. I will say one more thing. At this point in the draft, after Jaden Higgins, in my opinion, because I'm not so high on Matthew Golden, this is where I'm going for super upside. Middle of the second round, basically, is where I think it falls off a little bit. So why I take Milroe here is that reason. He has the biggest upside in the entire draft, in my opinion. If he can put it all together, he's like Fields. He's like Anthony Richardson. Like if they can put it together, like Lamar figured it out. This guy is going to be like Lamar. He has that potential. Now, in the NFL, I don't know if he'll be that good, but I do know he blazes, and I have seen him throw a beautiful ball at very specific times. So I'm not saying he's a good thrower yet, but I think he can get there.
I think the only difference is the quarterbacks that you mentioned in comparison were all top 5 picks, and Milroe was not. And I think that is what's going to hurt him in regards to the opportunity that Darnold's going to get. I think Darnold gets the year, man. I really do. Like unless it's an absolute catastrophic storm, which I can't see it happening that way. I mean, Seattle's not that bad. But we'll see. Well, I guess we'll see. I agree with you. The value is there. I mean, he does have that potential because you do have the running backs with the. I said it. You do have the quarterbacks that are like running backs with the skill that they have. And if he gets the opportunity, for so be it. I just can't see that happening this year. I think Darnold gets a lot more leash.
No, absolutely, and I think he fell to the third round because of the last two rushing quarterbacks that did not pan out or have not panned out yet. We won't say they have completely. Like Anthony Richardson was a can't miss who can't throw. Like so I think people got a little bit scared about that, especially in a lower quarterback class. I thought he would move up a little bit higher. I am not a Miller fan. However, the upside is just huge. So next up, we are in tier 6. Matthew Golden, Luther Burden, Mason Taylor, Tyler Shook, or however you say his name, and Jalen Noel. or Knoll. Sorry, Jalen Knoll. The only player that we have to talk about in this one is Mason Taylor. So I'm going to give you the floor first because you have him at number 10 overall. So lay it on me, man.
No, I think we kind of touched base with it when we hit that previous tier. Like I just think the opportunity that is in front of him, he's going to be a wide receiver too. He is a pass catching tight end. He has proven that in college. He has the size, he has the strength, he has the skill. I think he's going to be a very similar comparison to a Trey McBride. Trey McBride did not come out and do Brock Bauer type numbers, but Trey McBride came out, and now Trey McBride is an absolute elite stud. I do see this working faster in Taylor's favor though, because I can't name one legitimate wide receiver or pass catching option behind Garrett Wilson. The Jets' offense isn't there. Aaron Rodgers went in there and really wreaked havoc for the 2 years that he was in there with any type of customization toward rosters that he wanted. And now, obviously, like all the bubbles are brewing about Lazard leaving as soon as Rodgers chooses Pittsburgh and everything in between. So I just don't know what kind of offensive weapons are there, and I know what kind of offensive weapon Taylor is, and that's why I have him as high as he is. I think he's going to have immediate impact. I think he's going to have an immediate success rate, and I think he's going to be right up there with the Sam Laportas and that type of caliber by the end of the year.
Beautiful. I loved the landing spot because I knew whatever tight end ended up with the Jets was going to be the starting tight end because they don't have a tight end.
Tyler Warren there would have been nasty, man. It would have been so nasty. But in my opinion, the next best pass catching tight end in this class is Mason Taylor. So I think this is a fantastic spot.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I was actually really, really hoping for Arroyo to go here. He was my number 3 tight end, and that didn't happen. So we'll talk about him in a little bit. So, yeah, I don't have anything negative to say about Mason Taylor. I just Fields worries me, and there's no one behind him. If he hit it again, same thing with Milrow. If Fields hits this year, and I have a share of them, and a lot of people have come to ask about it, but my price is higher because if he hits, he's a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. Nowhere near top 5 quarterback in the NFL, but top 5 quarterback in fantasy because of his running ability, and if he's able to play like he did in Ohio State with, blanking on the name, Garrett Wilson, he'll succeed. But there is a very strong likelihood, because he's now on his 3rd team in 4 years, that he doesn't succeed. And that's one of the reasons why I do have him lower, because I do have 2, probably 3 players on that team that are higher in my mind than Taylor, which is Hall, Wilson, and probably Braylon Allen as well. Or they could probably fight for the number 3, but I think they're going to run the rock a lot this year, especially with the defensive head coach. So little tidbit there, pick up Hall if you can, in my opinion. So, but yeah, I mean, I loved his landing spot, but I can't. I had him like number 6 or 7 as my tight end. I couldn't jump him up that high. Number 3 tight end was high enough for me.
Fair enough.
And then the only other thing I want to say, and this isn't really that we were different, it's the fact that if Tyler Shuck is a starting quarterback in the NFL, he needs to be moved up higher. I'm not sold that he's going to be the starter because I do like Rattler. He didn't play very well last year, but second year you might be able to jump up a little bit. But
that's why I have him over Milrow. I cannot put Milrow over him, knowing what kind of potential. Because I'm looking at this, and we're bearing injury at this point. Darnold's not going to suck this much at pregame or preseason that he's going to lose the position. We're looking at injury or bust on Milrow getting a position here, getting at least a few starts by midseason. We're looking at Aaron Rodgers or bust. So Tyler Shuck's coming in there. I know you're a Rattler fan, but again, I don't see them drafting him this high if they had confidence in their quarterback room, if they had confidence in Derek Carr. And it's obvious that they were correct not to have coverage in confidence in Derek Carr. I think Tyler Shuck comes in here and he plays. I think he's the quarterback week 1, and that is why I have him over Milrow.
Which I 100% can understand. I'm not sold that he's going to be the starter. Like I said, if I was sold as anybody else that he was going to be the starter, and the funny thing is you're talking about him as a starter already. You only have him one spot higher than me, which is really funny. um, but I just wanted to bring that up because if he is a starting quarterback in the NFL, he has to be vaulted into the second round or into that top 18, top 16, because of the opportunity that a quarterback presents. Also, his outside weapons are good. Olave, although he hasn't really shown up like everyone expected, he's still been very good. And
the head injuries, man. It's the head injuries.
It is absolutely.
Can't mess with that stuff. That's so risky, so scary.
But again, with Kamara in the backfield and those two weapons, whoever the quarterback is going to be successful.
And if his defense isn't very good, decent spot.
Yeah, and their defense isn't very good, so they're going to be throwing the ball all day.
I'll tell you this. Whoever the quarterback is for the Saints is a better starting position than Cam Ward.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
and that's that just plays when I was like that. That's what I'm saying. Like Tyler Shough has a better. If we're looking at Tyler Shough versus Cam Ward week 1, Tyler got a better position here. Tyler got a better opportunity.
True, and he'll have the opportunity to prove himself for sure. Because
if he starts, of course. If he starts,
I think I'm 50-50 right now, which is why I have him at 22 in the 6th tier. If he ends up being the starter, you have to put him in the 4th tier at worst, which is top 13. Just because he's a body. How many quarterbacks start in the NFL? 32. How many teams do you usually have in your league? 12, 10, 14. Like that's 20 to math. 20 to 28 quarterbacks that you're starting. It's a body. Like that's where I look at it. And if he succeeds and plays well, which he did in Louisville, we'll see. But right now, I have him at 22. You have him at 21. So just wanted to touch base on him because he is the one that will vault in my rankings, at least, if he becomes a starter. Next up, we have tier 7, which I think is where we're going to basically stop. Oh, no, we have one more tier. I'm sorry. So I have Bashal Tootin, Dylan Sampson, Terrence Ferguson, Jalen Royals, Jaden Blue. And that is in tier 7. Really, you don't have Dylan Sampson on your top 30, which is interesting to me. I think, again, this is going to be one of those. I hope it's not a three-headed committee, but I do think people saw Judkins succeed so well with a pass-catching option with him, which is why Dylan Sampson was drafted. He's a speed demon who I said had to go to the right situation. Not sure if this is it or not, but he's going to have an opportunity to catch the ball out of the backfield. So I'm excited for that. Anything on Dylan?
No, I think he's a decent back. I just don't think the volume's going to be there. It's just probably because of my height and hype on Judkins, but I just don't. I know the talent's there. I know the skill set's there. I know how, like what you're saying, is how they're going to use him. I just don't see the volume there. I think Judkins pulls away with it.
Interesting. All right, and then Terrence Ferguson was our biggest difference out of the ones who you actually had on there.
Yes.
Which was a 6-spot difference. You had him 6 spots higher, number 20 overall, which probably going to be number 21 if you think Tyler Shough is starting. So, so Terrence Ferguson, tell me why you like his, or why you like him so much.
I like a little bit of everything about him. He played fantastic in Oregon. He had a very diverse route tree in Oregon where he lined up in inline, outside. He did halfback stuff. He pretty much a little bit of everything. He was first in the 40 time at the compound. He was first at the vertical jump. He was first at the 10-yard split. He has increased his production each and every year. And he was one of the main ones that Sean McVay wanted in Los Angeles. So when you have a very schemy, offensive-ridden head coach targeting you as a particular player. They have ideas and plans for you. They're scheming things as you leave your draft meeting. So the fact that Ferguson was hunted down by Sean McVay, along with everything else that I've mentioned in regards to his specs, I'm really liking this to be the perfect storm. I don't think there's too much competition there. You have age and you have injuries and everything in between. I just truly do feel that Ferguson's going to pull himself away in this tight end class.
Yeah, again, I don't really have anything negative to say except for the fact that I have trusted Oregon players in the past, pass catching Oregon players in the past, and none of them have succeeded, it seems like. So that worries me a little bit because Oregon is a different kind of beast. It's kind of like Tennessee. You just don't know. Like it's a different feel out there offensively. They do some things different. So that's really the only thing for me is also I'm a big Tyler Higbee fan. I think his injury last year, people are kind of forgetting about him, or a year and a half ago, I guess. But he is coming back this year, and he's probably going to be the tight end on this team until he retires or they get rid of him. I'm assuming he's going to retire pretty soon, though. So that I think that's why they drafted Ferguson was for the heir apparent kind of thing, not necessarily to be the starter. So that's why I have him a little bit lower, but I think his future is very bright.
That's fair. I think his opportunity is going to come a little bit sooner. This is probably where you and I differentiate on Higbee. I think his opportunity is going to come a little bit sooner, and I'm hopeful and optimistic he'll succeed.
Awesome. And then Jalen Royals, you didn't have in your top. You're not falling for the Kansas City wide receiver this year.
I'll wait for it. Yeah, I'll wait for it. Let's wait and see how it happens.
Successful, so
yeah, let's wait and see what happens. No, jokes aside, like we have a lot of decent mouths to feed there. Kelsey's coming back. Rashid Rice is coming back. No, I really do think. I really don't think that all that's gonna. I think all that court case stuff's gonna get blown over, man. I really do. I think it's just a civil case, and I think the worst is behind him. I think he comes back. I think Kelsey comes back. I think Pacheco comes back in a little bit better health, and you got Patrick Mahomes. I just think you got Xavier Worthy. I just think there's a lot of mouths there. I think Royals is going to have a few catches. I think he's going to have himself his opportunities, but I just don't have him in my opportunity to put him in the top 30.
Awesome. Then the final tier here, I have Alec Ayamaner, Elijah Arroyo. That rounds out my 30, but also I had Devin Neal in the same tier, so we'll just throw him in there as well. The only person I really wanted to talk about in this one was Alec Ayamaner because you didn't have him in your top 30. I had him 29. We've said it how many times, especially talking about Cam Ward. There's nobody there. Like, he's going to get an opportunity. And he has performed in the past. I'm not a huge fan of Alec Ayamaner. However, I do love his name. However, there's nobody there. Like, he has an opportunity, and a lot of these other guys are going to be stuck behind good players. He's not. So I see him being a starter at the beginning of this year.
I do see him getting some opportunities, but I do think it's going to be Calvin Ridley's show. I think he obtains a serious amount of volume. I think Tyler Lockett gets a lot of the in route stuff as well. And I'm honestly, it's a coin flip for me between him and Xavier Restrepo, and I think that Cam Ward connection with him in Miami is going to deteriorate. It's going to deter him from exceeding and giving Restrepo a little bit more opportunity. I think that's my coin flip. I agree. There's nobody really there in Tennessee, but out of the two rookie wide receivers, I'm giving the ball to Restrepo.
Now, I don't know how they're going to play offensively, but it is an offensive coach, so they may play three wide receivers. If they play three wide receivers, I would not be surprised if both rookies are on the field because Restrepo can play the slot very well.
Correct. And that helps deter him. That helps differentiate him. That helps differentiate him. And God only knows what's going on with Burks. Burks can't stay healthy like I can't stay skinny. So, God only knows what he's doing.
He's a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
Let's see if he plays, Cam. Let's see if he plays.
Yeah, when he said that, it was like, all right, so he's going to be a Titan.
Yeah, it was very obvious at that point. I was like, okay.
Restrepo is already in the top four. You didn't hear that one? No, I'm just saying.
But that's what I'm saying, man. There's bromance is tough to beat, dude.
No,
Bromance
absolutely.
is tough to beat, and I think it's gonna carry a little bit more weight.
And it does. It usually does succeed. Now, it didn't last year for can't think of his name. I'm having a rough time with names today. Denver.
Troy Franklin.
Troy Franklin. It didn't work out so well last year for Troy Franklin. It might this year. Who knows? Because there's not much wide receiving help there.
I'll give the Franklin Knicks project one more year. They were both
that's what I'm
give it
thinking
one more
too.
year.
But yeah, I mean, I had Restrepo at number 40 because I had to have him in my top 40. Like, I love Restrepo. I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for, but then he didn't get drafted. So he got on a team, it seems like, because he was the Miami Hurricanes' number one option, and they drafted the Miami Hurricanes quarterback. Like,
1,000%.
That's the only reason he even made a team, which I think he would make a team anyway, or would have been pulled up anyway. But it was just funny that he didn't get drafted. I loved him, and then he gets pulled or brought in by his quarterback, basically. So we'll see what happens there as well. But yeah, that's why I really again, upside. The Ayo Manor has upside. I was actually surprised I didn't have him higher, but I do like a lot of the other players that we talked about. Two players we didn't talk about yet that are in your top 30. Darkwise Hunter, which I'd like to hear real short why you think that, especially with Blake Corum there, who I like. And Shador Sanders is the big name that I don't have in my top 30 that probably everybody else does.
I just think Shador, just go ladder the former. I think Shador Sanders is going to get an opportunity this year. I think he is so polarizing as a player, positively and or negatively. Like the half the casual NFL crowds have no idea who the quote other quarterback is that they drafted 2 rounds ahead of Shador Sanders. The social media feed is all Shador Sanders. Like it's like if I was Dylan Gabriel, I'd be pissed. But like this is reality. So I think it's just a matter of the pressure that Sanders is going to get an opportunity, and I think he's going to do okay. I don't think he's going to succeed and be the top 10 quarterback that everyone thinks he's going to be pre-draft, but I think he's going to be the best one in that quarterback room, which take it how you wish and how that quote is said. Jaquiz Hunter, just real quick, I'll just say Ferguson was one of the 3 people that Sean McVay was hunting after. Hunter was another one. The dude is fast as heck. I think that they were bringing him in with a little bit of lack of confidence in Corum or the contract situation with Kyron, but I think Hunter is going to get some opportunity out the gate, and I think his speed's going to impress a lot of people.
Interesting. I don't have a problem with Jarquez Hunter. It's a convoluted backfield, and I didn't want to. I just didn't really want to in drafts. So I kind of had him lower than most people did, just because I didn't want to have to worry about the Rams running back, because who knows who the running back is going to be year after year. So in the McVay offense,
True.
I mean, he started Henderson over Akers one year, so like we just don't know. So Shador, for me, you can have all the issues in the world, right? There are multiple quarterback needy franchises, or franchises that have an older quarterback who can develop somebody, and they all passed on him at least 3 times. Like everyone's saying that Shador is the best player, best quarterback on this roster. Then he would have gotten drafted higher than the 5th round, higher than Dylan Gabriel. Like, it's the NFL. People are trying to save their jobs. They're not going to draft somebody or not draft somebody because of their dad or their issues off the field or anything, or he's a rapper. Who cares? If you could play football, you could play football. Obviously, we found out the NFL doesn't think he could play football. So I'm pretty passionate about this because it drives me crazy. Dylan Gabriel's a good quarterback. Unfortunately, he's from Oregon as well. But he didn't play other places other than Oregon, so that's positive. And they also have a 1st-round pick. Do I agree that Kenny Pickett is going to be the starter? No. I think he should be. I think he should be the one that gets the chance because Flacco's about to pass out, and the other two are rookies. So why not give a guy who you did give some draft capital away for, almost as high as Shedeur Sanders? You drafted Shedeur Sanders, so why not give him a chance? He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Obviously, he was on the bench. So all of this talk about Shedeur being the best player on or the best quarterback on this team and yada yada yada. If that was the case, someone would have drafted him within the first 3 rounds.
That's a ridiculous take because 2 words: Thomas Brady. Draft cap means nothing. Like Tom Brady
There
was
was no
drafted
off-field
in like the
issues for
7th
him.
round. I'm sorry?
Yeah, you can get a hit regardless, but the fact that people are saying he's the number 1 quarterback already in that locker room, and he's the second quarterback they drafted, that doesn't make any sense. No one thought Tom Brady was going to be Tom Brady. People think Shedeur Sanders is going to be Tom Brady. Do you see what I'm like?
Whoa.
It makes no sense.
I don't know anybody that said that.
What I'm meaning is that he's going to be successful as a 5th round pick. There has never been a player that everyone was consensus on outside probably the first 2 rounds, maybe 3, and that's pushing it, that everyone thought was going to be good. Never. Quarterback-wise. If you're good, you get picked in the first 3 rounds. Done. Tom Brady, Brock Purdy, they're outliers. They're already saying this guy's an outlier and he hasn't touched the field. It's crazy to me. It's like it baffles my mind.
Yeah, you are very hot about this, and I will change my top 30 to anybody else if it allows you to calm down.
No, I'm good. It just doesn't make sense in my head. Is basically what I'm thinking. Like they have Joe Flacco, who's been successful, better right now. They have Kenny Pickett, who was a 1st round pick, whether that was right or not, doesn't matter. He was a 1st round pick, had the pedigree. You traded a player who you wanted to get rid of, and a pick for him in Kenny Pickett, and then you drafted a quarterback ahead of this quarterback in the same draft class. But the guy in the 5th round is going to be the better player. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I don't have a problem with other people saying that. I had to get that out because it just doesn't make sense. So we can disagree on that one for sure.
I don't disagree. Damn. You were just very passionate about that. I did not expect that much Sanders and anti-Sanders from you.
Well, also I watched him on the field and he's not very good. He had Travis Hunter to throw to, which helped him out a lot. I was not a fan of Shedeur as a person or a player, on or off the field. So that might have something to do with it as well. I saw him play in Colorado, and I was not impressed whatsoever.
I think him being a Cleveland Brown has a lot to do with it.
Oh, I don't care about that. One of my favorite running backs of all time played Cleveland Browns.
We'll see.
I don't have his jersey because of that, but I still liked him, Nick Chubb. So Shedeur, I was so happy when he fell because I didn't understand why everyone was saying he was going to be a top 5 pick. But enough Shedeur hate. I don't mean to hate on somebody this much. The media just doesn't make sense to me. That's really what I had an issue with. Nothing else other than that. And also I do like Dylan Gabriel more than other people, and I've obviously had a bias on Kenny Pickett as well. So that might have something to do with it, if you want to say that. But I just don't see how people think he's the best quarterback when he's the lowest drafted out of the 4. So anyway, anything we didn't talk about today, draft-wise, that you wanted to bring up?
No, man. No, I think this was a very, very well-run course here. I think you and I have a lot of differences. I think you and I have a lot of similarities, all justified.
Yeah, and most of the stuff, it's just like the few players better.
Yeah.
This is a good class. I don't know what people are saying. I think this is a better class than people are giving it credit for. I would say for me, the 2 biggest differences from pre-draft to post-draft was Luther Burden and Emeka Egbuka, and that is only because there are like 5 options on their team, and I don't see them being ahead of 4 of them, or at least 3 of them, on both teams. So that worried me a little bit on both of those guys. But any big changes for you post draft?
No, Abuga. You touched base on Abuga. Abuga was definitely the upset one. I was happy that Mason Taylor landed on the Jets. Once they did not land Warren or Oreo, I was happy with that tight end spot because that was one spot that desperately needed a tight end. And I'm happy with Warren and Indy. Not many people are, but I am. I think that's going to be a good fit. Indianapolis has needed a pass catching tight end for years, so they finally got one. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, since Dallas Clark. And speaking on Warren real quick, bad quarterbacks that run the ball use the tight end because it's the shortest distance. They use the tight end, the running back, from what I've seen. So I think that's going to be a benefit for him. I actually like Tyler Warren's spot more than Colson Love. That's why I have them flipped 9 and 10. So yeah, we've been at this for about an hour, so we're gonna head out of here. But any last words there?
Nope, I'm good here, man.
All right, man. Well, for Jeremy, I am Mickey. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, Apple, and Podbean. Also, social. I'm still figuring social out. I'm slow with this. X, Facebook, and Blue Sky at dynastymttops. And we also have email, dynastymttops@gmail.com for any feedback or comments. Also, any topics you might want to hear as well throughout the summer. We will be down for that. So, again, for Jeremy, I'm Mickey. This has been Dynasty for the Mountaintops. Have a great week.
Thank you.